first of all, I want you to believe that God speaks, and God purposed to speak. But He's going to speak with somebody who has never interacted, even with the Word of God. For Him to teach me, He had to remove me from even mainstream churches, because He didn't want me to hear these things from there and then get confused. So His purpose to teach me Himself spiritually. That time you're hearing, but you're not used to that kind of language. So I'm wondering, what is this? Am I listening? Is it depression coming in? Why am I hearing things which are contrary? I was talking to my wife in a vision, a dove came and landed on me in a vision. I was saying, can you see what is happening? Apparently it was a vision. Then a hand touched me and beckoned me, and I saw a white robe was calling me.
We are moving forward.
Yes.
Are you saying it is not yet over?
What you are saying, but is it what God has purposed? Is it? There's a lull before the storm.
There's a what?
A lull before the storm. It's God has not yet done.
Tuko family, a new day, a different story. But today's guest has different perspectives. I don't want to call them controversial perspectives, but they are different. And that is why we are inviting you to interrogate them even as he narrates unto us. He's a man who has worked in Kenya and abroad, including with some of the best militaries in the world. Let's hear more from engineer George Sammy Onyango. These are his words and opinion, not that of Tuko. Engineer.
Yes.
Welcome to Tuko.
Thank you.
Yes, karibu sana.
Yes.
I have listened to you for some minutes,
yes,
and read some of your thoughts.
Yes.
First of all, let's get to know you. We know your professional background, and then we can have that conversation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, may I start that right now in my profession, in Apex, I'm an engineer by profession. And my journey towards engineering is actually fully technical. Yes, because even the early secondary, high school, university, now, it's all been technical. So I can describe my journey to have been a craftsman, I've been a technician, I've been an engineering technologist, I've been an engineer, and I'm a scientist, engineering scientist. So the hierarchy, those 5 of them, I've gone through. What it means that if you take me on a jua kali, I fit. If you take me to design, which I've done, I'll show you, I do. So my background of engineering encompasses from the basics to now the complex. Yes, complex. Yes.
Now let's get into the story that brought us here today. What is your interpretation of what is happening in the country, and how did you come about it?
To tell you that story, first of all, I want you to believe that God speaks, and God purposed to speak. But He's going to speak with somebody who has never interacted, even with the Word of God. From the time, I think I was saying I was in my peak because everything was roaring. You know, I left NMC even after hosting the cabinet through Kibaki. They had invited to come and see what I was doing. And I think you can find them in the media. It is something that everybody was wowed. Now what happened, that level, because apart from that, there are so many things I've explained to you this one. There are several things I've done of high level. And I used to imagine it was my own knowledge that I've been given. Of course, the knowledge God has given me, but it was in the knowledge. So when I was now gearing myself to drive NMC, bang, the hammer fell. And they kicked me out with a 1-paragraph statement letter without even any reason. Apparently, that date that I left NMC, the 3rd of September 2012, was God's reference point to start the journey for changing this nation. But He had to teach me, first of all. He had to bring me to understand the significance of that date. So it's been a journey. Now God moved me from the technical to theological, biblical. And He had to teach me. For Him to teach me, He had to remove me from even mainstream churches, because He didn't want me to hear these things from there and then get confused. So His purpose to teach me Himself spiritually. that time I had not even bought a Bible. I didn't even have a knowledge of what was in the Bible, not even the books, because when my wife was busy going to church, me, the best I could do is to drop them and then go where? To the office until the hammer fell from God, and can be very heavy. It fell, and he gave me so many instructions what to do, to forget about anything that I've been doing, be it technical what, and sit down and read his word. That time you're hearing, but you're not used to that kind of language. So I'm wondering, what is this? Am I listening? Is it depression coming in? Why am I hearing things which are contrary to what I can? So I fought for 9 months, trying, but he made sure he closed every single thing that I could do. Even the projects that I was ongoing, because when I was in numerical, you know, numerical got me out when I was already now running my business. When they brought me in 2008, I was already having my business as well, because railway, I was in railways before. Railways also kicked me out in the same manner. So I decided, with this knowledge I have, let me set up some practice, which was doing very well. Without me there, they could only refer to me for consultation. And without me there, it was doing so many things. You can see even this kind of buildings I have here. It is just because of my business in what I was doing. It was, but the moment I stepped in to sit there, God locked. And he showed me that without him, I can do nothing. For 9 months, I tell you, I saw disaster. Nothing was coming in, but was, you know, I had to have people. I have to pay them, I have to pay rent, I have to pay. So there was only outflow, but was nothing coming in.
Yes.
After 9 months, I got so scared. I said, hey, where am I heading? Even I have a family, I can see that everything is just dissipating. So I only took my documents. I didn't even close the office. I only took my legal things, you know, the stamps, the certificates, what, and walked out without anybody knowing. And to date, I've never stepped there, and nobody has ever followed me. And I sat wondering, now what next? I don't even, somebody bought me a KJV Bible. And I tried, because I was saying, sit down and read my word. But KJV Bible, the language was strange. I was wondering, now what are they? Even understanding, even where to start. So I was very frustrated. I was trying to read something, but I don't even understand what is happening.
Yes.
So, but how God does things, he made my wife go somewhere and buy NK, which I don't think she even knows, the one I have here, and left it beside the bed, even wrapped. So one day when I was very frustrated, then I see something wrapped, and I open it.
You thought it was a gift.
Then I find this NKJV. Then I say, curiosity. I go, NKJV, that's KJV. I didn't even know about KJV and KJV. I'm just seeing this. So I decided, hey, let me open this. Then when I opened, I found that English here, I can understand.
It's easier.
So then I asked myself, then what do I do? Then I said, the best thing, let me read it like a novel. So I started even from preface. So I started reading the Bible just like a novel. But the strange thing that those days, dreams come and visions come. I ask my wife, strange things are happening. Then when she hears my story, she tells me, can you go and read this particular? Because my wife has been in this for years. So I met her when she was in this. And when I read, I find similar to the dream. Then I started getting, so strange things started coming, which I encountered. Of course, there are basic things that I know, that when Jesus was baptized, a dove came from the sky and landed on him. I was talking to my wife in a vision, a dove came and landed on me in a vision. I was telling her, can you see what is happening? Apparently it was a vision. She wasn't seeing what I was seeing.
Was it during the day or at
No,
night?
it was in the morning, early just before I woke up. Then a hand touched me and beckoned me, and I saw a white robe was calling me. So I was thinking, now we were talking, and then I slid into mumbling but me in my mind, I knew I was continuing with the message. So then I was saying, have you seen what is happening? So she was asking, Kwani, what is wrong with you today? Kwani, you just talk and then you slip off and then come back and ask me, I say, you have not seen that dove and you have not seen that person? Apparently it was a vision. Then he proved it, that was him. There's a kijana that comes here. There are people who can verify that. In the morning when I was going to switch off my security lights, I found a dove here. I was about to step on it. Then it flew and went behind the house. But it was with me the whole day. It only refused that nobody touch it. It joined the chicken in the shamba in the what. So my shamba boy was telling me, hey, mzee umeweka hata nini these days. But nobody could touch it. It was there, but when you go to put your hand, it goes to the tree. And when you come, it comes back. So until the chicken came in, but it was left there. So I thought, maybe let me take some maize, leave it. I put maize there, but it didn't even touch it. The following day, the same way, but the dove was never.
It went away.
It went away. So they were standing where? Here, just here. So when I was talking to this guy, I noticed that his hands had 6 fingers each, 12. But already I gotten attuned to the way the Spirit speaks. So it was telling me to go to check the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 21, verse 20. And I found somebody with 6 fingers, 6 and 6 toes each, which are total 24. But later on, I'll show you 24 is the day of messaging of God. 24 is visitation. Because even that dove came after 24th, or that, that dove came. So 24th is a visitation sign for God. So I say, when I say, yeah, this man had 24, both 12 fingers and 12
That is
toes.
that's in the Bible.
Yes, in the Bible. That's in the Bible. You get it, 2 Samuel, chapter 21, verse 20. You'll find that one there. Then when I see that, I know that that's a messaging. Then say now, skip now to 2 Samuel 23, verse 2. Then when I read 2 Samuel 23, verse 2, he say, the Spirit of God spoke by me, and this word was in my tongue. Which means he's giving me now that Spirit, showing me the Spirit of God will speak by you with his word in his tongue. And he has to prove that his word is the one speaking. So in all this that he's saying that he wants to talk to me, he has made sure that whatever he tells me, you can verify from the word. Yeah, so he called me and told me all the things you have been doing. I have not known the power behind me. The power behind me is divine. Is the one who has made me make all these unique things that, yes, even though the Saitoti things that I was telling you, the Chelanga one, you know, there are some I did in UK, this one. Even my ideas were stolen when I was in UK. And there's a time we even rioted and we were thrown back just because of rioting. My idea was stolen by British Rail, yes, and was thrown back like deportation. My story of this starts way back in 1993. I'd been sent for a training in Turkey. Even before I tell you that Turkey, I want to tell you one thing. In Turkey, all the new beginnings put in the Bible started in the present day Turkey. During Noah's time, the ark rested on Mount Ararat. Mount Ararat, where? It's in Turkey, isn't it? Abraham moved from Ur the Chaldeans and went to Haran. Haran is the present day what? Turkey. The first Christian church, Antioch is in present day what? Turkey. The home place of Saul, which is Sicilia, is in present day Turkey. The 7 churches mentioned in Revelation in present day what? Turkey. When so when Jacob went to marry, he was sent to where? To Haran. Yes, where there was who? The Leah and even Isaac went to Haran. So all those new beginnings are in present day Turkey. So I got a message in 1993 about this, but since I didn't know anything about the Bible, whatnot, the message came to me and I dismissed the person because the message was big. And how did it come about? I had been on an industrialization program under UNIDO. So when I was addressing the gathering, I was challenging UNIDO that this thing you have given us, we stand of losing this knowledge without going to industrialize our nations, because you've taken the people in the lower, and this one requires to be given to the people who are decision makers. So I was telling them, if you could organize such a similar thing, but then you give it even in a moderated language to the people who make, because this thing is able to change any nation. Nations like the one we have, because there were many nations we are attending. You see, you know where the story of Vietnam is now. Vietnam is somewhere else. All the nations that we had in Asia, there were very many nations from Asia. Africa, we were 5 countries. So I was challenging them to organize a similar thing so that our people here can also listen to it. Because at that level, even when I came to talk to anybody, nobody would want to listen to me. But he gave me a message that in my time, it was a major thing. I dismissed him. That's why I looked at it. I said, but I thought, now I understood. I thought because when he was in a hotel and I saw somebody coming, I thought was coming to give me water. And when he passed, he whispered the message in my ear.
And what was the message?
No, he whispered a message. This message is exactly as in Daniel chapter 10. And you'll come to see that even when the elections were done, you know, Greece and what it was based on that, I'll, maybe when you reach there, you'll see. The person gave me a message. But I was in Turkey on 24th, that's when I arrived in Turkey. But if you read Daniel chapter 10, verse 4, you'll see on the 24th day, Daniel was beside River Tigris, isn't it? River Tigris source comes from where? From Turkey. I was where? In Turkey, next to Marmara Sea, which joins with that. Then a message came to me. Daniel had a message. But then the person, the angel who brought the message said I was coming, but the Prince of Persia held me for 21 days. I could not reach you. 1993 to when my case was decided in 2014, so what? 21 years. So everything was just coming according to that. Then I also received a message, but a message for this. It was going to take time to come. It took 21 years, and it came. That's when it started, in there, according to Daniel 10.
Are you following? Are you following?
In the Bible, if you look at the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 22, you'll find when Peter was speaking, say that Jesus Christ, he was telling, was attested to you by God through signs, wonders, and miracles, which God did through him, not Jesus Christ did, which God did through him. And for him to attest them, he had to use signs, wonders, and miracles. So he has used the sign of numbers in the Bible to be directing me what is happening in this nation. So now he talks to me, but using the word and the signs, which is touching on this. An example which you are maybe see later, because you'll see how those ones comes in. I told you the cabinet was, this one was announced on 19th. They took 20 people to parliament for the rejected one. They came out 19, isn't it? You go back, what you call the national mourning for the departed late general was 19th, isn't it? They gave him how many gun salute? 19, isn't it? The related one in Iran, I told you where Iran had been there. The reason why I was in Iran, I'll show you. Iranian president died on which day? 19, isn't it? Our head of state left for US when? 19, isn't it? I know I'll show you many of them. In the Bible, in the book of Jeremiah 52, Jerusalem was besieged by Nebuchadnezzar for how many weeks? From the 10th month in the 9th year to the 4th month of the 11th year. There were 19 months. In March, when you started having issues here, KKM government had been in power for how long? 19. Nebuchadnezzar was what year? Was after in the throne? You'll find that in Jeremiah 52, 19. So there's a reason why God is using that 19 for this nation. And that's why Kibaki was also given 19 gun salute. I told you Kibaki's transition was 22. There's a reason when you go and now see how God is using those to communicate the events which are taking place in this nation. But now, there's an issue. Because one of the things that I think we talked about is to know this eruption of the Gen Zs. Yes? I think last December, let's see, I'll show you the photo. I was clearing some grass behind. My daughter has a phobia of snakes. But then she found me swatting a spider with the one which carries a white thing on the tail. So when she came, she halted and said, "Hey, Daddy, I hope it's not the things I hate. I fear." I said, "No, it's a spider I'm swatting." So I swatted and she wanted a key to open something. So I gave her the key. When she turned and she entered the house, immediately that place there was a what? The same snake. She had also been fearing a what? Snake. So there was a snake. I didn't even move. So I also killed it. But because she fears snakes, I took it and put on top of the incinerator that I'll bury it maybe or throw it later. But I forgot when I finished. So the following morning when I was waking up, normally switching off security lights, I find just this normal snake, the slag, the white one. I find one just where I'm just open the bolt of the back gate to the chamber. Then when I say, I want you to count the snails as you walk. That was the first one. Then I found this, not a very long distance, maybe you'll see, a very short one. So I found the 7th snail on top of the incinerator where the snake was. But the snake had been eaten and I found the snail eating it, which is a miracle because snails don't eat meat. So they eat flowers or what. But then this one, so that is what caught my attention. And the photo is there, you'll see. It's been eaten until there's only the bones are are sticking. But there's a way God says that when he tells me something, he uses nature. God uses nature to communicate. Then I was asking God, then what is the purpose for this? Then he told me, the meek shall devour the strong. Because the snail is what? Is meek. And the snake is what? Strong. And this one, the meek, was devouring what? The snake. So in the small church I go to in January, they asked me to give a sermon. And I told them, this year, the meek shall devour the strong. The Gen Zs shall devour what? And your sin. And still all these are here. You'll verify. You'll verify when you want. All what I'm telling you, all of it.
But at that time you did not understand where the strong, who were the
what
strong.
What I knew that I don't know.
And who was the meek?
No, I was just told the meek in this nation shall devour who?
And were you told the timeline? So
no, I just told this year. There's something I
can
tell you. There's something I tell you that God's word does not fail.
That was in the beginning of the year.
That was the snail was in December. I'll show you the date. Even the date you'll see. And then beginning of the year, I was the first day, second day. After New Year, the pastor asked me to
give a sermon.
Yes, and that is what I gave them. That so this year God says that the meek
will devour
the strong.
The strong.
Yes, that was the snake being devoured by what?
By the snail.
By the snail. Yes.
So when there was this eruption of the Gen Zs, what was your first reaction?
I remember that day I was sitting there. I don't know whether you know Jimmy Wanjigi, and I was telling me this thing will happen suddenly. The same day I was seated with him in his place. It will erupt the same day it erupted. When I was telling him, it's a message of what is now. You see, the foundation of many things happening is based on what? On that. It is not anybody's doing. It is divine hand. And I told you, God's visitation is what? 2024, isn't it? Yes. The one that I'll tell you.
And we are in the year 2024.
We are in 2024. So Ben Hinn came here
2024
on 24th. And he mentioned something that the spiritual warfare is what? And if you see in the Bible, I know maybe he does not know about those numbers because those are the signs I've been given to see. Now I enter the ark at 600 years, isn't it? There's some spiritual. I'll tell you the spiritual about it. When the people are leaving Israel, Pharaoh chased them with 600 special chariots and other chariots. The people who are leaving Egypt rather, was 600,000 strong people with armored, isn't it? When David killed Goliath, the iron head of the spear that Goliath had was 600 shekels. David had 600 what? Soldiers, even when he was in Keilah. When Saul was numbering people, he had what? 600 what? So 600 has a special connotation at the beginning. And on the 4th March of this year, 4th March, I was exactly 600 weeks from the time I left. That's why that number I told you of 3rd of September, 2012. It's the reference of all what God is doing. This book here, he made me to record every single from 2012, from September. Every recording is here. You'll find that I'd hit 600. And you saw the rains come. These rains that devastated the nation. You know the rains?
At a time when we should not be having rain.
Yes, in May and what? This one you're pulling down what? You even see my wall, they're down, isn't it? Seen in the hand of the divine. It is not in the hand of man. What is happening in the nation is in the hand of God. And it is what God has purposed that's going to come. So
and engineer, so I think the people who study numbers, are they called numerologists?
The numerology, yes. Yes.
It is not what you are doing to these numbers.
No, me I didn't study, me I've been given. I've been given when I read here. And you'll allow me to take you through one so that you know that I'm not telling you. I want to take you one of the 17. This 17, number 17. And you know number 17 is a foundation.
In the Bible.
Yeah, in the Bible and even in this nation. You remember the elections that were nullified in each year?
2017.
It was done 8th of August 2017, isn't it? If you look at the book of Matthew, chapter 27, from 6 to 9 is the story, but verse 9. He says that the person, the one who betrayed Jesus, Judas, threw down the 30 pieces of silver. The price of the value of who betrayed. Those 30 pieces was the value of him who was betrayed. 30 pieces of silver, you can also take 10 shilling pieces. If you take 10 of them, the value is 100 shillings, isn't it? So what is the value of these 30 pieces of silver? And it tells you that to confirm what Jeremiah spoke in Jeremiah 32, verse 6 to 9. That's where the value of those 30 pieces of silver, which is the value of him who was betrayed, which is the value of Christ, is. Yes? So the value of Christ is pegged at what? At 17, isn't it? According to that. So when you read that, you'll find that in Matthew 27, verse 9, it is the value of him who was betrayed, those 30 pieces of silver, and then come and read Jeremiah and find out how much did he weigh to buy the land that was saying that was being bought. He weighed 17 shekels of silver and paid, which means the value of 30 pieces of silver is 17. But then how does God confirm that that's the value of deliverance? Because the value of it is deliverance. 17 is meant to deliver. That's why when they nullified 2017 elections, God decided the journey of deliverance of nation of Kenya. It's a journey. God's thing doesn't happen. It happens, It's a process. So the journey of deliverance started from the 2017.
Nullification of the elections.
Of 88. Yes? Which now here in 99 also. After 7 years, if you count 18 to nearly 7 years, because anything God has a hand on must bear 7. Must. That is when you show that it is him. Because in Revelation, if you read the office of God, in Revelation chapter 4, verse 5, it will tell you the 7 lamps of fire are burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of who? Of God. The Passover was in Egypt, isn't it?
Yes.
In Exodus chapter 12, from verse 1, he said, this year marks the beginning of your year and the beginning of the month. On the 10th day of this month, everyone shall pick a what? A lamb for slaughter. And you slaughter after 4 days, you inspect it, and on the 14th day, it was done what? It was slaughtered, isn't it? And the blood put on the what? On the doorpost. And that's why we celebrate the Passover on what? On that Easter, isn't it? Because the blood of Christ is going to be on the what? On the cross. That's why we celebrate. The blood that's put on the doorpost is that blood Jesus shed on what? On the cross. On the cross. And then Jesus was on the grave how many days?
3 days.
So 3 days from the fast to the past resurrection is how many days? 17, isn't it? Because he was crucified on the 14th of the first Hebrew month. And they resurrected 3 days later, which is the 17th day. Which means Jesus resurrected on the 17th day of the first Hebrew month, symbolizing deliverance for mankind. You understand that?
I understand that.
And now, how does God apply it?
In Kenya?
No, first of all, to confirm in the Bible.
Okay.
In the book of Genesis, chapter 7, verse 11, you'll find that the reigns of Noah started on the 17th day of the second month. And the ark rested on Mount Ararat on the 17th day of the what? Seventh month. Isn't it? You see 17 for the deliverance of Noah. Joseph, in Genesis chapter 37, verse 2. Joseph was 17 years when he was sold by the brothers to be sent where? To Egypt. Isn't it? To prepare a way for what? Delivering who? Them when there was what?
There was drought.
Drought. And when he brought the father to go to Egypt, the father stayed there 17 years, isn't it? So 17 is the hand of deliverance of God. But he combined this in the Waterstone, the 17, and he puts his hand of what? Of 7. So 17 juxtaposed with 7 is the deliverance by the hand of God. And that's why, if you remember the first, is it High Court? BBI was put down on 17 grounds in the High Court. The Supreme Court, 7. Isn't it? Did you see that? That's why it fell.
It's so mind-boggling.
17 and what?
And 7.
And 7. Our departed general was sworn in on 29th of April, isn't it? 29th of April is 119 days of the year. What are the factors of 119? 17 by what? By 7. 17 times 7 is what? Is that. Then Kibochi was pulled out of the DOD, the way they pulled them out. On the 5th of May, 2020, it was 2023, and the digits there, 5, 5, 10, 2023 is 17. You see? God does not, his words are going according to what? So it was purposed. And I'll tell you that one we'll see later, how this one came in. But it's all in the journey of the deliverance of this nation. So 17 is a mark for deliverance for this nation. God already started the journey on 2017. But he started the journey on who? The election of 2013. When did they come in? 2013, isn't it? 2013 to 2024. Is it 11 years?
11 years.
In Jeremiah 52, when Jerusalem fell, Zedekiah ruled for how many years? 11 years. 11 years. That's why things are happening.
That is why it is happening after 11 years.
11 years. That's why it's happening at 11 years. Because everything's pegged on that. You know, the deliverance, a new beginning, is pegged on the book of Genesis 5 to 9, dealing with Noah. And that's why the rains had to come. I was going to tell you why the rains came. The date I left Turkey, remind me to show you, because all those things I have evidence. It was 17th of 7th month.
17th of July.
17th of July. Which is the date they are rested on what? On Mount what? On Mount Ararat. 4. Then in the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. Isn't it? But after 40 days, the floods receded and Noah opened the window and checked. And he sent out a raven and he sent out a what? A dove. On the 40th day. Isn't it? And that day it came back. He waited for 7 days, which is 47th day. He sent out a dove again and it came back carrying an olive what? Leaf in the beak. He came back, he took it in. Then he sent out 7 days, which is 50 what? 54, isn't it? And the dove never came back, which means the earth was what? Was dry. So why 54? Count with me. Jesus was arrested the night before crucifixion, isn't it? 1 day. He was in the grave for how many days?
3 days.
3 days. Total from the time he was arrested is what? 4. And you have to mark that he has told the disciples that you will be, the shepherds shall be struck and you will be scattered. But I'll not leave you orphans, I'll come back to what? To you, isn't it? So after resurrection, it's 4 days from arrest, when the sheep scattered. Yes, isn't it? Then he was on earth for 40 days. In Acts 1, you'll find that. 40 days, which means it's 44 from the time he was arrested. And he told them, tarry until you are endowed with the power. Do not leave what? Jerusalem, isn't it? And Pente is 50 days from the resurrection. But we have 4 days the other side. So on the Pentecost day, the Spirit came, isn't it? And on. From the 4, when they scattered, it was 50 what? 54. So the 54 is a sign of what? The Spirit what? Coming. 54, when the Spirit was hovering over the waters, or that, and then the dry land came. 40 days, 7 is 50 what? Is the Spirit of God that was doing what? And I was in Turkey from 24th to 17th, Acts 54 days, isn't it? And when I left the numerical of the 3rd, in 2012, I was 54 years. When the elections were nullified, that time the president had won with 54%, isn't it? The nation Kenya in Africa is 54th nation. I think that one was for NASA.
54th nation or
54 nations in Africa. 54 where the thing was done, isn't it? 54 nations in Africa.
Okay.
The people who were complaining then was called NASA. From the time I left, if you count, to the time that they took the petition was 54 weeks of a month, but I have it here, 54. So it shows that this is by the hand of the presence of the God, why it is what? It is coming. And it was 35% for all nations, 35 nations, counties rather, who had passed 25%. You'll see all those are, I think, recorded. And I told you I was in Turkey when I was 35.
Yes.
The case was 35 number, those 35s, all 35s, isn't it? And the people who voted were 8 me. How many people left the ark? 8. 8. Blessed new beginning for the delivered nation of Kenya. That is 8/8/17. And if you go back, you'll find that people tried to change that date to 17th. They could not, because it was not their hand. It was the hand of who? Of God. So 17 is a hand of deliverance for God. And this nation is marked by that from 2017, which has to come in God's way.
So it is, we are not yet done because...
No, God has not yet reached what he wants to do. That one I think can only understand when I now go back from theology to technical, because he has also taken me that line. Massive. Hold so I won't go there because it is...
We need to understand something.
Yes.
As at now, the revolution has slowed down. There was the revolution, and then there was the dismissal of the cabinet, new appointees. Yes. So now it's a broad-based government. We are moving forward.
Yes.
Are you saying it is not yet over?
What you are saying, but is it what God has purposed? Is it? There's a lull before the storm.
There's a what?
A lull before the storm. It's God has not yet done. It's not. You cannot say Numbers 23:19.
So there's a storm coming. That's what I want. Yes. That's what I want to get from.
I'll show you. There's something people talk about much here. I want you to understand it. You hear people talk about, I don't know, the military will step in and what. Have you heard that talk?
Yes.
Now, in 2018, yes, in December 12, there was a 17th Battalion, which is given trooping of colors, isn't it? And was taken to Garissa. Who was then the Air Force Commander?
Ogola. General, back then was Lieutenant General Ogola.
Yes. I'd got some work to do a bit at Isili, which was ending on 17th of December. The letter is here, you can see. But that date was given to me as a sign. The battalion that was taken to Garissa, originally they say it was coming from where? Nyali, in Mombasa. To confirm that, 3 people called me from Nyali, different people, but I knew all of them used to stay in Nyali, the ones who called me. Then I was wondering, then when I heard that they were based in Nyali and I'd just gotten some calls from these people, then I related about that 17. So I became keen about the 17 that was taken to Garissa. The elections were on when? 9th of August, isn't it? From 13th, the first day of that 17th battalion, in when they're given trooping of colors, to 9th of August 2022 is 1,335 days. What does Daniel 12 say? Blessed is he who waits and comes to 1,335 days. You want to read?
Yes, please. You said Daniel what?
Daniel 12:12. Blessed is he who waits and comes to 1,335 days.
Daniel 12:12. Blessed is he who waits and comes to the 1,335 days.
Dead on. And before you cover there, this wars here, they were based on Grecian. They was from actually what it is. Daniel chapter 10 to Daniel
Prophecy
chapter
of the end time.
Yes, yes. It's scarce if you read there. Daniel chapter 10, Daniel chapter 11, and Daniel chapter 12 is one story broken into 3. 10 is introduction, where Daniel was. 11 is the story. 12 is the conclusion. That's at 12, blessed is he who waits and comes to 1,035 days. So at Daniel chapter 12, verse 1 says, and the prince shall stand in the gap. There's a prince who is coming in the gap, who have come to 1,335 days. Is it battalion? Can you see? Can you see number?
Interpret that, Yes. But I want to understand that from the election day 2022, 9th of August 2022, to the trooping of colors of the 17th Battalion is 1,335
days. It's here. You go. In fact, go count yourself because I tabulated them. Just count. You'll find it's exactly 1,335 days. And it was dealing with what? Grecian what?
You know what you're talking about is scary. I just felt scared.
You take it. The Grecian war is Greece, isn't it? Who printed our ballot papers? Greece, isn't it? Were there issues? There are people who are caught at the airport with stickers. How many stickers were there? 17. Did you read that? All those are in the media. You can go and verify. Then a report was done by the DCI, which I believe was taken as an evidence by those who took the matter to court. And that report with the DCI were 7 issues of 17 pages of 17 stickers. That's God speaking. I told you that I'm going to tell you what God is saying according to the science that's given to define what is happening in this nation, Kenya, and what is coming to do. He has not yet done.
Engineer, are you not scared of the things that you're saying, seeing what is happening?
I'm saying what the Bible. I told you that one thing I want you to see. The 2 Samuel 23 verse, just read it. 2 Samuel 23 verse 2 says what? The Spirit of the Lord spoke by me, and His word was in what? In my tongue. I'm not the one speaking. He has given me the signs so that to confirm what He's saying. And the signs are where? Here. It is a sign to verify what He's saying.
What is your discipline then? Engineering is quite
Yes, engineering is quite wide. Basic foundation is mechanical engineering. But I've also done materials engineering at postgraduate, which encompasses production, material preparation, selections for even high complex things. And in the process of even doing those things, I think I've done one of the most complex things in the world now, which affects the aviation industry in a major way. I don't know whether you know the issue of Desert Storm, the time that there was this war of Kuwait, when Iraq attacked Kuwait. I was then in the UK. There was a problem with they called the British Tornado jets that were carrying missiles for bombing. Those missiles were guided by laser beams, but the accuracy of laser beam is maintained when they're on cryogenic. Cryogenic is very cold, negative 100, 200 degrees centigrade is when they maintain the accuracy, which was then being supplied by liquid oxygen. Liquid oxygen is very cold, I think minus 189 degrees centigrade. But then they were carrying oxygen on cylinders on board. So when oxygen runs out, you lose the accuracy of a missile. So you can't send the missile, you can't launch it. So you have to come back and take more cylinders and go for the mission. So the mission became cumbersome and expensive. Then somebody, Doughty Weapon Systems of England, thought of an OBOG system. OBOG is on-board oxygen generation system. So that continuous oxygen generation to maintain the accuracy of the missile through the laser beam. But then everything burns in oxygen. And in aviation, you don't want anything related to fire. So the material for making this pump by Doughty Weapon Systems was a real problem. And they were looking for it. So Doughty Weapon Systems, together with the NASA of US, approached the university where I was. But then the project landed on me. And I can proudly tell you, this book, red book you're seeing here, that material that I came up with in material selection for making the pump, which generates pure oxygen on board of both commercial and the military aircrafts.
In the United Kingdom?
In the United Kingdom.
Wow.
Yes. It is of the kind. And if now I'll show you, it's quoted as if you want to make, use that material. It is in this book here.
Wow.
I'm the one who came up with it in 1990, 91.
Most of our viewers
were
being born at that time.
Yes.
If I'm not wrong.
I believe so.
They are millennials and Gen Zs.
Yes.
So Gen Zs have come much later after your, can we call it invention? After your invention,
this,
a discovery.
Yes.
In that background, two things have happened in your lifetime.
Yes.
Number one, the cabinet back then was the Minister for Internal Security, Professor George Saitoti, came down in a chopper.
Yes.
This year, the Chief of Defense Forces came down in a chopper.
Yes.
What do you have to say about that?
First of all, Saitoti died on 10th of June. The aircraft was airborne for 10 minutes. You'll see that.
Yes.
When he died, they had given Parliament a promise within 10 days he was going to release the names of those who were involved in what? In those drug
trafficking.
Isn't it? And then the this was 10th anniversary, 10. But I would want you to listen to that first of all and hear how God reveals his things. Because these are now in the public domain. Yes? I did the investigation. I think you saw the clip by KTN. But mostly on the gearbox.
Yes.
Yes? On that gearbox, there are issues. Was there some fire or not? One thing, and then there are, if you mention here that they are saying things of the hydrocarbon poisoning, even for Luke or Yugi or whatever, who are there, hydrocarbon poisoning, carbon dioxide, not hydrocarbon, carbon dioxide poisoning. But where does carbon dioxide come in? The aircraft, hydraulic oil or anything happen in aircraft, normally fire stabilized so that they don't combust, cause failure. So they are normally given additives to stabilize them against what?
They usually burst.
Yeah?
But they usually burst.
Of course, but they are supposed to retard. Yes? Retard. Oh no, the body burns when it peaks, but those issues like the oil and what is supposed to be stabilized with that. So when you attempt to burn anything hydrocarbon, you get hydrogen products, H2O, because oxygen in the air will mix with the hydrogen, it's hydrocarbon, to get moisture. That's why you see when you start a car, you can see steam at the exhaust, isn't it? And the carbon dioxide. The carbon there mixes with the air also, with oxygen also to get carbon dioxide. But in complete combustion will yield carbon monoxide, isn't it? So there was carbon monoxide poisoning on them. Now, how do you say that there was? First of all, there's an expose that was done by John Allen Namu, with the one in South Africa. There's some pattern he produced when the aircraft started having problems. It like he drew letter 8 in the sky. I think he picked it from the civil aviation. It was in Isinini. He put it there. That means the aircraft lost control, isn't it? There. So it was moving in a zigzag. What stabilizes the helicopter up? When the rotor is going up, rotating, there's a tail rotor, isn't it? For stability. In the event that maybe tail rotor fails and this one is still running, because this one is directly also connected, yes, rotating, isn't it? It rotates, and in the event that something happens and you cannot control the flaps, the blades, because it's the direction of those blades that determines whether it's going up front or in the yes. So if you interfere with that, even if they rotate, it will be like a stone rotating in the sky, isn't it? And so when this thing formed that pattern of like S, it means that there was no control. So what controls them? The hydraulic power on those, because those things are heavy, you cannot control by hand. So you use a hydraulic power system to control the levers, to change the rotor directions for operation. So when a hydraulic system fails, what happens? That kind of thing, isn't it? Now it is this hydraulic failure that are established that failed, but how did it fail? From the engine to the gearbox is formed this, what you call a propeller shaft. There's a shaft transmitting power there. From this propeller shaft is tapped with a belt for that particular aircraft. A belt running a what? A hydraulic pump. The hydraulic pump that delivers the power to control the hydraulic systems. So when the pump stops, you cannot control you cannot use hydraulic, which means you cannot control so the first thing that stopped in that, even when the engine was full, because I was there when they're dismantling the engine also, the engine was okay, nothing was wrong with it, was the hydraulic pump. Now, how did the hydraulic pump fail? In the housing where the propeller shaft entered the gearbox and is tapping from a pulley to the knee, there was a belt transmission. Under there was sign of what? Of fire, isn't it? It was burning. And how do I know it was burning? The cover for that particular setup is aluminium. And aluminium, pure, will melt at 660 degrees centigrade, isn't it? So when you check the inside, there was chiseling of the edge, which means the fire was coming from a bench. Like if you see somebody doing gas cutting, you can direct. So the fire was chiseling the aluminium from in under. But on top was okay. But then how do I know that there was fire under? When you have droplets in a spray, they stick under, isn't it? But then there are droplets forming globules, but in between the globules, see, there are those boundaries, lines, what? Because many droplets up, in between droplets, there's a line for joining, isn't it? So those lines were oxidized by carbon. When the droplets eventually go, you get fish scale pattern. When the droplets eventually disappear, then it remains a fish scale pattern, which means the carbon was in the areas where the droplets were filling, and in those cause droplets, and was burning. And it was burning what? From what? Issue of what? Hydraulic oil, which was burned. Hydraulic oil was not having full combustion. And so it was generating what? Carbon what? Monoxide. Then somebody was trying to say that it was ram air cannot allow it to go into the fuselage. Helicopter blade, when it's rotating, you know, the blade is long. The tip and the center are rotating same speed of rotation, but different velocity. You understand what I'm saying? The tip is covering a longer distance, just like when you're going around the pitch, isn't it? The tip is covering a longer distance than the center. Center is almost steady, isn't it? Which means the tip is having a higher velocity than the... And the higher the velocity, the more thrust of air it does what? It hits down, isn't it? So if you draw the pattern of the air being expelled down to cause the thrust to go up towards the center, it will form something like a parabola, isn't it? Because it's reducing as the blade, you go inside the blade, because the speed is changing, and also at the center, it's almost like a rod. A rod cannot fan, because the blade does not start open, that aerofoil is not from the center, it's from, so in between here, there's a place where there's no air, but it forms like a hyperbola or something like that, which means the fuselage is encased because the thrust is on there, and that's why you see the blades of an aircraft, when they are bent upwards when they are rotating, they are normally bent upwards, isn't it? So this space in here, even if it was supposed to, people will be uncomfortable, isn't it? So it has to be like that. So there's no air which is being thrust here, so air will easily percolate into the fuselage, and that's why the other ones inhaled it. It was carbon monoxide from unburnt hydraulic, partially burnt what? Hydraulic oil. All those, the statements are there in those exposés, but the explanation is what was
lacking.
Yeah.
All right.
And then why do you know that there was fire there inside? Above that cover, there was something like a sensor and a wire coming out. A wire came just above, immediately above the aluminum where the fire was. In that wire never caught burnt. So fire that burns and melts aluminum, do you think it can spare just a normal wire? It can't. Which means the fire which melted aluminum was concentrated inside where the hydraulic pump was. And there must have been a leakage, and a leakage at high pressure, for it to come out as a mist. The principle of diesel engines working. Diesel engine sprays, because when you pick diesel, it's liquid, isn't it? When you're spraying it in the engine, it's a gas. So on a small hole, it atomizes and it comes out a gas. So if it is hydraulic oil, it comes as a gas and a droplets and what.
You almost lost me with this engineering jargon. Thank you for your time, engineer. It has been an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Of course, these are matters that we are going to interrogate as we move on.
Yes.
And my take home is that we are not yet out of the woods.
Yes.
So probably we'll have a conversation later. I don't know when, but thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And I also invite our audience to interrogate what you've told us.
Yes.
You've given us lots of references from the Bible.
Yes.
May they also interrogate that and give us your analysis and your conviction or your opinion on the comment section. Let's engage there, as engineer has put it. And also remind you that these are his words. This is his opinion. This is his observation. This is his conclusion. Not ours, not Tuko's. It is his. It is good to have that disclaimer.
And you can go ahead and say that he says these are not his, these are what? Divine.
And he says that these are not his words, these are divine words.
The divine words.
Let's interrogate them together.
Yes. Because you can use the Bible to follow.
Yes.
If you are me, I've taken you through so that you see all those things. There's nothing that is not in. Yes. Yes.
My name is Ngori Wangeshi. This has been Tuko. We have had a very a good conversation with engineer George Sammy Onyango. Thank you for watching.